This video discusses the question with reference to its origins, purposes and content. Assess the values and limitations of source A on page 137 to an historian studying violence against African Americans in the early 1900s. It's a paper 2 source evaluation question from paper 1 of the IB history exam. Just a quick tip on using subject-specific vocabulary. This will show that you're acting as an historian. There's some examples at the top of the box there, but have a look on pages 7 to 8 as well for more examples of good historical words. Another tip would be how to write your sentences. So 5 historical W's: who produced the source, when it was produced, and what type of source it is, will be you commenting on the origins of the source. If you can comment on why it was produced, the 4th W, then you're evaluating the purpose. And lastly, as with the above, if you can comment on what the source actually tells us, a 5th W, then you'll be evaluating the source's content. Let's have a look now at the mark scheme. So the focus of the question is on values and limitations, and if you only discuss one of them, you can only get half marks maximum. To be really clear, when you're discussing the values and limitations, you must comment explicitly on the origin, purpose and content of the source. And if you write in 5 sentences about those 5 W's, you'll be doing that. Link to the question and consider whether the origins, purpose and content are a value and or a limitation if you're answering that particular question. If you're doing all of that, then you can get full marks. But there has to be a reference to everything in the blue, the green and the red boxes for full marks. Pause the video at this point if you haven't written an answer, but if you have, watch on and you'll see tips on what you could say and what a good answer looks like. So in simple terms, the origin of this source is unknown because it's a photograph and we don't know who's taken it. It's not a major limitation, but it is something to be aware of, that we can't be 100% certain of the authenticity or the purpose of the source. It was produced in 1921 at the time of the Tulsa riots, which is very relevant to this question. It's the early 1900s. It's a photograph, which is easy to prove whether it's authentic or not in terms of what it's actually showing. Those are values of the source. They help us verify the violence that was taking place at the time. And again, the purpose of the source seems fairly clear, even if we can't be 100% certain. It is there just to give information about the consequences of the Tulsa riots, which is a very relevant example of violence against Black Americans. What does it actually tell us? Well, there are some values. So as we've said, it focuses on the aftermath of one particular event. But obvious limitations are that, like lots of primary sources, especially photographs, it just can't tell us that much. So give an example in your answer when you're trying to explain what it doesn't tell us. A good answer might look like this. This time the values are arranged into the first paragraph, the limitations into the second. We've commented on the origins in the first paragraph, the fact that it's a photo, as well as the purpose and content. And again, in the second paragraph, the origins and the content of the source are commented on. The example that's given here about the KKK at the end is one example of violence against Black Americans that it doesn't tell us about. Have a look at your own answer and have a think, how well did you do? If you've got any more questions, please ask the teacher.